How on earth is it possible that the month's best Nintendo 64 game is on the PlayStation 5? That's right, we're taking a break from talking about PlayStation games on the PS Plus to discuss Doom 64, the 1997 Nintendo 64 port of one of the most influential first-person shooters of all time. Yeah, I don't know what's happening either. I guess we now have 2 subscription services giving away Nintendo 64 games. That's pretty cool, but the question remains, is this game actually worth playing? To find the answer, I decided to flip through the pages of Electronic Gaming Monthly, GamePro, Next Generation, and more classic magazines to see what the critics said back when Doom 64 first came out. So go and grab your BFG, because this is another monster-infested episode of the PlayStation Plus Review Crew. Doom.
やるかやられるか Doom 64 8月1日発売
I don't think I'm being too hyperbolic when I say that when Doom hit PC in 1993, it was seen as something of a sea change. Of course, gaming consoles wouldn't feel the full impact until years later, partially due to a series of ports that didn't control well, weren't full screen, or were censored. Thankfully, everybody had gotten their act together by the time Doom 64 came to the Nintendo 64 in 1997. With brand new levels and updated graphics, this was the home version of Doom that gamers had been waiting for. Unfortunately, it would be quickly overshadowed by GoldenEye 007, but Doom 64 remains one of the best takes of the first-person shooter outside of that PC original. Now, when it came to the reviews, you're gonna see a lot of disappointment. Part of that simply comes from the fact that it was released 4 years after Doom first wowed gamers. Since then, we had seen a lot of first-person shooters, including its own Doom killer Quake. In the case of Electronic Gaming Monthly, you also saw the editors disappointed at the cuts that were made to the game. Crispin summed it up this way. Sure, I was a little disappointed that Midway scrapped the 4-player mode, but this is still the best version of Doom ever. If only you could jump and look around, but then it would be Quake. Dan was a lot more down on Doom, but for a completely different reason. Don't forget, I have a personal bias against first-person shooters, so please disregard this review if you love them. After you get over how pretty Doom 64 is, you may get bored with its repetitiveness. Electronic Gaming Monthly gave Doom 64 an average score of 7.5 out of 10. Although it is seen these days as one of the better Doom games on consoles, a lot of the magazines gave this 64-bit game middling reviews. Nintendo Power, for example, gave the game a 3.7 out of 5. Computer and Video Games was equally unimpressed, giving it a middle-of-the-road 3 out of 5. And that's the same score we saw from Next Generation, who agreed that it's easily the best-looking Doom yet, but complained that, in the end, Doom 64 is just Doom with better graphics. While that may be good enough for some, to us, it's starting to show its age. That said, there were a number of magazines that sang Doom 64's praises. Die Hard Game Fan, for one, gave it an average score of 96% back in their 29th issue. 64 Extreme went as high as a 93%, but then knocked 10 points off of that score when they reviewed it again 5 issues later. For those looking for the highest score, then look no further than GamePro, who gave it a perfect 5 out of 5. Because of course they did, it's GamePro. The classic corridor shooter gets a facelift with the best looking and challenging version of Doom yet. Those who thought Doom was dead, think again. Wait, hang on. Were there people that actually thought that Doom was dead? Man, people really had no perception of time back in the 1990s. Thankfully, we do these days, and I can attest that Doom 64 is a good time.
Hell is a dark prison filled with lost souls and demons. And how do you escape this damnation? Blast the pink demons right between their beady little eyes.
Doom for the 64-bit Jaguar.
Thanks for watching me break down these Doom 64 reviews. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new episodes just like this every time Sony adds more retro games to their PS Plus service. Normally it's a PlayStation game, but here we are. Now, here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite version of Doom? Is it one of the new games, or maybe it's the 64-bit version? Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back later this weekend with an episode of 10 Things We Learned This Week, followed next week with more reviews, an EGM countdown, and more. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,